Let's go to Toronto now, where the union representing Ontario's elementary school teachers is outlining its next steps in the fight against the repeal of the sex ed curriculum.
The creation of this snitch line ignores the systems already in place for parents and educators to deal constructively with issues at the school level. Of equal concern with this snitch line is that it is based on the premise that there is a problem with teachers. This fundamentally undermines parents' confidence in the high quality public education system that elementary educators deliver. It is the role of government to build the system in a positive way, not to toss it into chaos. This morning, I'm announcing that ETFO has just filed an application for judicial review of the Minister of Education's directive on the 2015 Health and Physical Education curriculum and the parent snitch line. ETFO's application seeks an injunction to direct the government to leave the 2015 Health and Physical Education curriculum in place. This is vital to ensure that educators and school boards can continue to protect the safety and health of students. It also seeks to stop the operation of this unnecessary and counterproductive complaint or snitch line. ETFO was forced to take this action because students need information and answers to their questions to deal with the realities of 2018. Our union, ETFO, along with community groups and thousands of Ontario residents and parents, have raised this issue of concern with the government publicly and through a variety of advocacy mechanisms. But despite our efforts, our voices as professional educators are not being heard or respected. As the school year officially begins today, our union has no other choice but to pursue this legal action to ensure that the safety and health of kids, families, and educators are not put at risk. Quite simply, ETFO believes that the government's actions are an abuse of power and are in direct conflict with teachers' professional obligations enshrined within the Education Act and the standards of practice of the Ontario College of Teachers. ETFO also believes that the actions of the government are also in conflict with the Ontario Human Rights Code, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and the professional obligations on teachers as set out in the Education Act and the standards of practice of the Ontario College of Teachers. This is why ETFO is taking legal action on these issues. In addition, ETFO has also applied to seek intervenor status in a case that was filed in August by parents and a student and is currently before the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal regarding changes to Ontario's curriculum. I want to end by saying that Ontario has an internationally recognized education system, one of the best in the world. However, this government is abusing its legislative power and using students for political gain. The human development of students should not be used as a pawn to appease some voters and deflect the real issues that are needed to build better schools. Chronic underfunding caused by an outdated education funding formula, violence in schools, a lack of support for students with special needs and mental health issues, and schools that need extensive repairs. These are the real issues affecting the learning conditions of students across this province. ETFO members have always and will continue to act in a professional way that puts students' needs first, and I am proud of that. Now I would like to, at this point, turn it over to Howard Goldblatt from Goldblatt Partners LLP, who will represent ETFO in this matter. Howard will explain the application filed this morning on ETFO's behalf to seek a review and an injunction against this government, and when Howard's done, we would be happy to take questions. Howard?
Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for attending this morning. I'm going to try and synthesize what it is that has been filed by ETFO today and what actually ETFO filed on Friday. So our challenge today, and you'll be provided copies with it or access to it, outlines the factual background of this application and the legal basis for the challenge, which in our view clearly establishes significant violations of charter rights and professional and ethical standards of teachers. We're developing and completing a record which will be filed in the court and will include evidence from teachers and experts on curriculum development and the development and implementation of the curriculum which has now been reverted to or revoked by this government. What we are seeking is the following, both in respect of the directive to return to the what I would call the 1998 curriculum or the 2010 curriculum, as well as what Sam has described as the snitch line, or others might call it the reporting line. We're trying to quash the directives issued by the minister in both respects. We are seeking an order declaring a requirement to return to the old curriculum as being contrary to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and in particular sections 2B, which protects freedom of expression, section 7, which protects personal security, and the equality rights under section 15. And we're also seeking an order declaring that the return to the old curriculum violates the principles of natural justice and procedural fairness. Just to follow up on what Sam has said, on Friday, ETFO formally intervened in the human rights case that has been brought by a number of parents and students who claim their human rights have been violated by the introduction or the reversion to the old curriculum. And more specifically, ETFO provided a declaration which is evidence in support of the request by these applicants to seek an expedited hearing and a stay of their proceedings. Let me be a little bit focused on some of the law. The Supreme Court has expressly identified that teachers are the medium for the transmission of values in our society and key actors in developing civic virtue and responsible citizenship in an environment free of bias, prejudice, and intolerance. The directive and the reporting line fly squarely in the face of these fundamental freedoms and values. The government has intentionally restricted the expressive freedom of teachers, prohibiting them from fulfilling their role as educators and preventing them from communicating accurate information critical to student health, safety, development, and participation in a modern, diverse, and pluralistic society. Their actions increase the risk of physical and sexual violence, transmission of sexually transmitted infections, cyberbullying, and online child exploitation, all of which engage the protection required by Section 7. And lastly, their actions perpetuate substantive discrimination against diverse and minority students, parents, and members of society by excluding topics related to sexual identity, sexuality, same-sex marriage, and a myriad of other modern, necessary matters that should be communicated in accordance with the professional judgment of the teachers. And lastly,
okay, if you are just joining us, we are getting a news conference here to you from the union representing Ontario's elementary school teachers. What they are saying is that they want to quash two directives from the province of Ontario. They're seeking an order to return to teaching the 2015 school curriculum, as well as get rid of this snitch line that has been set up for people, parents presumably, to report teachers who defy what the province has said. They have put out a call. They want the curriculum to return to the 1998 sex ed curriculum. Many educators say this is backwards. So we're seeing the union now put out a directive to get rid of these two things. So we're going to continue to follow this. School is back today. This is a hot topic for teachers, again, who have decided to defy the province's orders and teach the 2015 curriculum. You can call in and report that, teacher.